When you're collaborating as musicians, are you ever surprised by a musical decision that the other one will make? Or do you think you know each other so well that this doesn't surprise you now?
No, I was surprised sometimes. I mean, there's this place in the Mendelssohn Octet, and we have this part together. And every time I look over at Min, she'll do something different, and it's not what you think. She'll go like this. Or she'll be like, you know. And each time she does it, I don't know what she's gonna do, and whether she did a combination of the two in the concert here, which made me laugh. And but it was, yeah, she there are surprising things also musically. That's I know where you're going with it. I'm sorry, but
Min,
yeah,
it's your chance to get even.
I think when you play in a quartet, I mean, the good thing is that you spend so much time together, so you're so used to each other, and it's amazing because I feel very comfortable playing with them because I know if something were to go, you know, a little bit off, I know they'll just like catch me, and I feel very safe to be playing with them. Mm-hmm. When we're rehearsing, I think I'm always amazed but also grateful for like the amount of different ideas that are floating in the room, because there's always someone that's going to think the opposite or something that I had never thought of before, and I think that's what makes it more, for me anyway, more rewarding and interesting than working by yourself, because I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah. How important is your individual musical instrument to a string quartet? I mean, each instrument brings its own tone color. I'm just wondering, talk about your instrument a little bit, Min.
You mean the violin
itself? You've got a violin, yeah. You've got one from the Canada Council,
right,
haven't you?
Right. So Canada Council has this amazing thing called Musical Instrument Bank, and actually Rachel Mercer, who's here right now, she has a Strat cello. I think it's worth, what is it, $6 million on sale, and I have a violin on loan from them, and it's actually an incredible thing. I don't know a lot of other countries that have such a thing. They have 11 beautiful violins and 2 cellos that they loan out to young artists who are in need because they can't afford $6 million. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and they give it out every 3 years. Yeah. So I was lucky to get one 2 years ago.
So what happens when you change, or anybody changes an instrument? Because it's a competitive system, and it might be time for somebody else to have it. You might get it renewed for 3 years, which would be wonderful. But at some point, instruments change within a string quartet. What happens at that point? Have you come across this challenge of the tone color changing? And how you deal with that.
It's interesting that you mention this. The Afiaras right now are going through that change in particular. Yuri had an Amati, which was on loan to her from the Juilliard School, where we just finished our residency. And the Banff Center has a beautiful violin called a Gigantes, and she's trying it now. In fact, she just got it a couple of days ago, and she's trying that. Now I'm speaking out of turn, but in my quartet, we, if there's a new instrument, we do try to see how it fits with everybody. But at the same time, it's ultimately the choice of whoever the individual is and how comfortable they are with the power of the instrument, the resonance, and the versatility. So I think that Yuri actually likes the Gigantes, and we're going to go ahead with it. But it's really a decision of her own.
Mm-hmm. Each string quartet tends to work around a certain personality and a certain type of repertoire. Now, do you have, at this stage, particular repertoire for a particular direction in repertoire that each quartet's going?
Yeah. I think that's another, I think, really fun thing about being in quartets. We always create our own projects. I mean, maybe you can talk about your own Beethoven projects and stuff like that. But we thought of a couple of projects because we just signed a 4 CD deal with Analecta, and we were thinking about like how we can, what type of projects we can come up with. And one of them we're really excited about is a CD that we are going to call it Canadian Yin, and do all female Canadian composers. Yes. Which is very exciting. But we're gonna try to do that.
These will be new works, will
new
they?
Works
yes.
that haven't been recorded yet.
Yes.
And we're going to try to have that released in 2014 because that will be our 10th anniversary. So it will be like a girl power year. So I'm sure, yeah, you're not doing that project.
We're going to have a project called the Canadian Hymn. All male composers. I'm just kidding.
And what about mainstream repertory? Is there a particular sort of mainstream composer that is the Afiara, for instance?
Oh, we can't lay any claim to Beethoven, but we do love Beethoven, and we actually are going to embark on a project where we're going to try to record all the Beethoven quartets in the next 2.5 years. So we're going to start next spring with 4 of them. We've learned 9 of them so far, so we have a few more to go to cap it off. But in that way, we do love Beethoven. When we first started, some of our mentors told us, don't play Beethoven, Haydn, Mozart. And you should find a niche, like find something that that really sets you apart. And yet at the same time, we just loved playing Haydn and Beethoven and trying to play new music, some of which we like. But to become a new music group was not where we wanted to go, and we actually really did want to play Beethoven, not because we think that we have something more to say than what's out there. I mean, the catalog is ridiculous with all these great quartets, but it's basically something that we would love to do for ourselves.
So over the span of your lifetime, then you'll have the chance, like Alfred Brendel, to record each cycle 3 or 4 times.
Right, that's right.
Min, the Cecilia is quartets in residence, I think, or quartet fellows. I'm not sure how you designate it, or they designate it, with the Royal Conservatory. What does that entail?
This is our 3rd residency. The first one we did was in San Diego at the State University there, and it was a lot different. There we did about 60 educational outreaches in the area, all over Southern California, in different venues for homeless youth, for students in elementary school, high school, and stuff like that. At the Glenn School, we actually don't do a lot of outreach. I think we've done maybe 6 in the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And so they just want us to be there to just focus on our work and practice. It's actually in our contract that we have to practice. So, yes.
And Adrian, the Afiara works with the Juilliard String Quartet.
That's right.
So you are teaching assistants.
That's
Is that right?
We just finished our residency with the Juilliard School. We were teaching assistants to the Juilliard Quartet, but similar to the conservatory and the situation with the Cecilias, we were given a lot of flexibility. So in some ways, when we weren't there for about 2 months, we weren't held to our teaching duties as much as when we're there. They would appreciate us chipping in. Uh-huh. But that actually became a great benefit in being able to leave and to tour and to follow through with the concert opportunities in that way.
Is a residency really essential for a string quartet? You know, some sort of home base, something to hang on to.
That's a beautiful question, because we are struggling with trying to get a quartet in residence, a residency for string quartets here in Canada. You can get graduate residencies of the student type, but in order for a university to support 4 of us as young professionals, it's actually a very difficult task, and there aren't many, even not just in Canada, but in the States now. Some universities are closing their residencies for quartets, really? And very few are actually opening them up. So we're in the process of looking for that. And I know that both the Cecilia and the Afiara, we have a passion for teaching and for sharing and for passing on what the great, generous things that we've learned from our own mentors. And so that's a great question, because that's something we're looking for now.
Yeah, it's a topical thing. I can imagine both quartets being very inspirational to quartets that are just formed or just starting out. Yeah. When apart from teaching, the other thing that string quartets do, of course, is tour. So, how much of the last year was spent touring, and do you enjoy it?
Yeah, I enjoy touring. I like to travel. We went to many places we haven't been before in this last season. We were in Brazil, Denmark, Amsterdam. We went back to Munich, and the States has some beautiful places, as does Canada. I realize how little I know in terms of, I've never been to Kelowna, BC, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And I was in Mystic, Connecticut, and Topeka, Kansas, Bolivar, Missouri. They're beautiful places in North America. So I have enjoyed that.
And Min, you were traveling too this year. You went to Europe.
We were. We did our first European tour. We were gone about a month. We started off spending 2 weeks in Holland, and we did run-outs and all over Holland. And then we were in Germany, Belgium, Italy, and then came home.
Now, I've been peeping at your blog, and I know that Adrian was there for part of that tour, right? Because you posted some pictures.
Yeah, he had to come because I packed way too much stuff. And then so he came to rescue me and then brought me a little bag and an iPad. Yeah. It's great for traveling. Sorry, I shouldn't talk about these things.
Is it frustrating going to a place and knowing that you want to see it, but knowing also that you've got to focus on that concert?
Yeah,
found
it's
that?
interesting you mentioned that. When we were in Amsterdam in January playing a concert, and I didn't get to see anything I wanted to see. But when I went to visit the Cecilia Quartet, I didn't have anything to do necessarily than to hold her bags and roll the luggage. So we were able to go to the Van Gogh Museum, and it was fantastic. I mean, if you want an argument for live music, seeing something live, I've grown up watching those big coffee table books of Van Gogh's paintings, and they're all pictures and reproductions, but the three-dimensional globs of paint and the way the light strikes off of it, it's remarkable, and it's almost the same thing like in terms of CDs and live performance. There's a definite color quality that's missing, so.
But we only went there because he was visiting. I had been to Holland before, but I was too busy practicing, so I actually didn't get to the museum the first time. So I said to him, okay, we have to go because, I can't miss it this time. So.
Listen, it's been wonderful speaking to you, and it's been wonderful hearing you this week. Adrian, you're with the Afiara Quartet, and that's afiara.com. And Min, you're with the Cecilia String Quartet, and you're at ceciliastringquartet.com.
Yep.
And we're the festivalofthesound.ca, so thank you, everybody. It's been wonderful, and thank you to our guests.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very good.